All right, so we can just put, page is going to go on page 24 when we're done. So let's look at this. Still talking about rates of change. Don't need broken glass in our room. Good over there? All right. So the graph of H is shown above, and it's labeled. If it wasn't, we would definitely label it. It consists of 4 linear pieces on the interval from -6 to 6. Remember, this also means -6 to 6. They mean the same thing. We need to be able to read them correctly and understand what it's asking of us and what it's telling us. Okay? We want to find the value for a constant b such that the average rate of change, what does average rate of change mean? Slope, from x equals 1 to x equals b, b is what we're looking for, is equal to the following values. So when x equals 1, y equals 2. So this is the point where we're starting. So I need the other point on the graph that would make the average rate of change from A to that point, or that x value, that average rate of change be -1. So I want you to think about that for a minute. Think about that while I figure out what time we get out of here so I don't talk too long. Yes. 1 second. 1:05. Okay. And I'm going to re-explain it in just a second because I think a lot of people are going to be stuck on what it's asking, what we're trying to do. But we're starting here. I need another point on this graph. So if I was to draw a line between that point and the other point, that my average rate of change would be -1. Okay? Let's see if you can think about that. And I have a feeling I know why some of you would be kind of stuck on that at the beginning. That's why I want you to think about it for just a second, and then I'm going to explain it again before we explain what the answer is. Is this line segment right here, does this line segment right here have a rate of change of -1? No. Okay. So what this is not asking me for, it's not asking me for a piece of the graph. It's asking me for another point where, remember, the average rate of change, like you can give me the rate of change of that. That's not what we're asking for. If I have a parabola and I want the average rate of change between these 2 points, that would be the line I'm finding the slope of, right? So starting at A, I can draw a line through the graph. It doesn't have to be part of the graph. What point would give me an average rate of change of -1? Does that help a little bit? Okay. I could tell the first time I did this, everybody was trying to find a piece of the graph because it was linear, not trying to find a piece of the graph. Anybody want to give me what they think the number is? Do we think it's 4? Let's see if 4 makes sense. So if I'm here when x is 4, here's y. So if I draw this in, that would make it my average rate of change. Is that slope right there -1? Yes. So going from x equals 1 to x equals 4, my average rate of change is -1. Okay, we okay with that? All right. What about B? I'm sorry, B, number 2. Average rate of change is 0. What point, what is the x value of the point we would go through? -5, because a slope of 0 means I have what kind of line? Horizontal. So a horizontal line goes right there. I'm starting here at A again. I'm going to here, -5. You see how that works? Okay, so give you a second to think about number 3. Think it's 6? What else? Who else? Anybody else have something? 6? Do we agree with that? -6? -4? I heard 6, -6, and -4. Okay, so let's think about this. If I have 6, which is right here, if I draw this in, what is the slope of my green line? -1/5. Okay? So you're on the right track with the 1/5, but that's a -1/5, right? -4? Okay? So -4, if I do that, let's see what color can I use. If I'm here at -4, I'm right here. That is a, pretend like that's straight. That is a +1/5. So when you're counting your slope, if I start from here, we're used to rise over run. So if I rise 1 and I run 5 and I keep doing that, I'm not going to get to my graph at all, right? But instead of going up and to the right, I can go down and to the left, and I can get there, and it is -4. Everybody okay with that? We good? All right, so I'm going to give you a minute at your tables. I want you to try these next ones. See if you can come up with those. You can discuss them with each other as necessary. Did y'all talk at all? Okay, I may have not given you enough time, but there's something on the back I want to make sure we get to. But let's look at this. So I've got the graph of f from -2 to 9. Okay, that makes sense. I'm starting at x equals 0, so I'm starting here at A. And I want my average rate of change to be 0. So what's my x value? 5, because there's my horizontal line right there. X is 5. Everybody okay with that one? Okay. Let's look at number 5. Average rate of change is 1. What do we think? 2? Do we agree with that one? So if my average rate of change is 1, I go over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1. Looks like it's that point right there. Earlier today I heard, pretty sure it's 2. I think that's how it works. Because does this look different than a lot of the graphs you've seen? Yeah, because you have that random point up there. We're going to see a lot of weird graphs. Do we know why that random point's up there? Not a clue. And there's probably a good reason, but the reason doesn't really matter for this question, okay? It looks like when x is 2, y should be 4, but there's a hole there, and for some reason that point escaped and he's up there, okay? It is what it is. So that does give me that, so the answer is 2. Very good. And then what about 1/2? Did I get enough time to get to that one? 6? We agree with that one? Okay, very good. All right, any questions on any of those? Okay. Reading the questions and understanding, because we're going to get into some AP Classroom stuff, and you're going to read some of these questions and think, we haven't done anything like that, and I don't know. And yes, you do. You've got to be able to understand what it's asking and think about what you know and whatnot. All right, so flip it over. Let's talk about some of this. Now, I've been doing this long. Ooh. Hang on. I accidentally moved this part. That's bad. Ah. Okay. And then I lost my. Jeez Louise. Okay. There we go. I've been doing this long enough that you would think I'd know how to work my board, but that if I gave you a few minutes to do this first one, I'm quite certain I would see a lot of blank papers, but this is what I'm talking about with you're not stuck until you're really stuck. If you're thinking you don't know what to do because you don't know what the heck's going on with that equation, what's going on with that equation is 100% irrelevant for the setup. The only thing you need to know from this equation up here to set this up is that it's called f. Can we at least figure that much out? Absolutely. So it says, here's a piecewise function. Find the average rate of change of f over this interval. So my average rate of change is, here's my interval. I need f of 3 minus f of -2 over 3 minus a -2. Who cares if you don't understand the rest? That you should be able to get done. If this was a free response question, so on the AP Pre-Cal exam, each free response question is worth 6 points. Just FYI, in calculus it's worth 9, so if you hear 6 and 9, the tests are different, so it is 6 for Pre-Cal. This would probably, if this was a particular one, that would definitely be a point. Because that tells me you understand what average rate of change is, you understand how to do it, and if the rest is a hot mess, maybe you only get 1 point, but is 1 better than 0? 100% yes, okay? And then hopefully the rest isn't a hot mess, but you at least have something. So now, what we know from what we've done before is that we have to find f of 3. Now, this is a piecewise function because I literally have it in 2 pieces. And we have these little domains over here. So 3 only fits in one of these 2 domains. Which one is it, the first or the second? The second, because it's when x is greater than 1, well, 3 is greater than 1. So that means I only substituted into here. 3 squared plus 1 gives me 10. Then I need to find f of negative 2. Well, negative 2 only fits into one of these domains. Which one is it? First one, it's the top one, because negative 2 is less than or equal to 1, so I just substituted into this one. 3 times negative 2 minus 2, which would give me negative 8. Okay? See how that works? No biggie. All right, so now I just go back up here and substitute it in here. F of 3, I found that it's 10 minus f of negative 2, negative 8. What's 3 minus a negative 2? 5. So then what's 10 minus a negative 8? 18. So I get 18 over 5. I can't reduce that. That's my answer. Okay? We good? Notation is huge. If you can look at that and you can, just in your head goes beep, 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 and bam, oh, I know my answer is 18 over 5. You're going to get less credit for that than if you at least write some of this stuff down. Your work matters way more than you think it does. The process is way more important than the answer. Because you can even make mistakes along in your process, but you have to prove where your answer comes from and still get a lot of credit. Okay? We good? All right, so let's look at this next one. We have a linear piecewise. So this one, if I wrote an equation, it would be kind of similar to this, except I'd have a whole lot more pieces. But that's what it means by piecewise. This is a piece of a line, this is a piece of a line, this is a piece of a line, but that's a piece of a quadratic. I mean, you literally piece things together. All right, so it's G, and it's labeled as G for me. We want to find the average rate of change of G over this interval. So my average rate of change, and it's okay to label this. Remember I told you we can't write that in our explanation, but I can, I'm just labeling, so it's okay here. I'm not writing it out in a sentence. This is equal to G of 9 minus G of negative 3, right? I'm getting my numbers from here, over 9 minus a negative 3. Whew, I'm moving the wrong thing again. I need to fix this. Then all I have to do, I don't have to do the work I did over there. What is G of 9? 3. When x is 9, y is 3. 3 minus, it's G of negative 3. Negative 2. So it's minus a negative 2, watch your signs, all over, what's 9 minus a negative 3? 12. Then what's 3 minus a negative 2? 5. So my answer is 5/12. Okay? And the average rate of change we're finding is going from negative 3 to 9. It's just like if I was to connect those two. Okay? So let me ask you a couple other things. What is f of negative 1? What is the function value when x is negative 1? It does not exist, so undefined is does not exist, and undefined are fine either way. The function value is not defined when x is negative 1. We agree with that? What is f of 2? 4. Because it's not here because this is open, that's closed, it's 4, right? What is f of 5? Negative 3. This point jumped off the graph. We don't know why, but the function value when x is 5 is negative 3, right? And what is f of 7? Undefined again, right? That makes sense? We know how to read these graphs. We don't know why they're undefined. We'll look at some of that later, but right now it doesn't matter. We just have to be able to identify it. Okay, we good? All right, so we're going to finish these last two things tomorrow. So I wouldn't tape it in yet because we're not done. You can. It just makes it harder to write on.